Hey everyone, welcome to the Exceptions Pilot public meeting. We're gonna get this started. And my name is Ria Chow, CEO of LSPedia. And to help me organize this meeting, Patrick O'Donoghue, our VP of Operations, will get you situated, go through some housekeeping items, then we'll go right into the public meeting.
Yeah, sure thing. Everybody, please check your audio connections. If you can't hear us, you can go ahead and call in using the phone number. And then we will, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat function or the question function and go to webinar, and we will make sure we get to those at the end of the session.
So I also just want to put a safe harbor statement out here. This meeting and presentation is for information only. So we will not discuss pricing, contracts, etc. And again, we will not go into the future actively update the stack in the future. But you will get lots of materials coming out of this meeting, and we'll make sure that you are informed about what this pilot is about, and then what's your role in the pilot, and what is the progress that this pilot will make in a time frame. So I want to just introduce you this pilot team. I am the pilot sponsor. I'm super excited about putting the exceptions pilot together. I know it's very important for a business to be able to run your business by exceptions. If you don't have a way to measure errors, capture errors, understanding the root cause, every single error coming in, it's just going to be a firefight, right? So we've seen a lot of companies firefighting VRS exceptions and still doing so today, anticipating that serialization going into 2023, the incidents and volumes will just exponentially grow, not only on the VRS side, but most importantly on the EPCS side. So I'm, as the pilot sponsor, I really appreciate all the members who requested to join, and also our internal members supporting this pilot. Michael Ventura, our VP of Solutions, is going to be the program owner. So he is a member of the GS1 Executive Committee, and he is very in tune with the standards, the future changes. So all this is coming together, DSCSA compliance, GS1 standard as the enabling tool, and how do members of the supply chain, the stakeholders of the supply chain, utilize different technologies, and I want to emphasize on different, to manage your day-to-day operations. Toward the end, we are all on the same page. Us as a solution provider, you as a stakeholder in the industry, we want to make sure, even the FDA and HCA, GS1, right? All these companies taking different roles in this implementation process. Toward the end of the day, you and I, we know in our heart that we want the supply chain to be secure, and then patient to be safe, deliver that product to the patient's hands, and enabling them to live a happy and healthy life. Roger Salmore is a senior consultant. He is the program director. He's going to be working very closely with you on a weekly to weekly basis, and he's going to be the person that gets his sleeves rolled up, and then going into how does this scenario apply to you? How is your company different? Do everything apply to you or not? How do you measure the actions that you take to manage a exception? And Patrick, on this webinar with me here, he is the project manager. So Patrick is going to set the pace for the project, and basically there's going to be homework. It's going to be weekly meetings and homework. So Patrick is going to set the pace for the project, and then providing you with tangible products and data that you can follow. We really do hands-on. We're going to do hands-on exceptions management through this exceptions pilot. Next, please. So this is a list of member of the pilot as of today. The enrollment is not closed. So if you're not seeing your company in this list and you would like to participate, there is a link that will follow up post this webinar that you can click and request to join the webinar. So there are two types of involvement. You can either be a participant. That means we're going to set you up. You're actually going to get a welcome kit, and in the kit there will be a scanner, a scan cards, and throughout the pilot we'll be shipping things to you as needed. Of course, if you don't need all that stuff, also the pilot can. We have the capability to also enable your mobile phone to do everything you need to do on your end. So on the participant side, we really appreciate these members joining our pilot. So Mercersburg integrated commercialization service, ICS, right? So ICS, one of the largest 3PL pharmaceutical 3PL services companies in the U.S. Bristol Myers Squibb manufacture Cardinal Health. This is both wholesale Cardinal Health and 3PL Cardinal Health. Dracuria Betances, a very, very large wholesale distributor in Puerto Rico. Fresenius Kabi, you all know, the top biotech pharmaceutical manufacturer. IPTOR is actually a solution provider, right? So none of us live on this isolated island. We all need to work with a partner. So we do welcome solution partners to participate. This is especially important because when you run a transaction, whether it's receiving or shipping, there's more than one solution in the works. LSPedia is a solution, but most importantly, your ERP solution need to interact with a DSCSA solution, and that's the best way to manage exceptions and make this entire process seamless. MediRite Pharmacy, a dispenser, Neuralis, a biotech manufacturer, Oak Drugs, a distributor, so fast growing, but has many sourcing parties for suppliers and many independent pharmacies. So that this exceptions is not only important for large companies, but also important for small, medium-sized companies. ArcScan, a pharmacy and a solution provider, SpartanNash, a dispenser, national chain with both member corporate pharmacies and also associated pharmacies. So that makes that exceptions management that much more complex. It's if you need to just handle it within your own company, or you also need to help associated pharmacies which do not belong to the company but buys from the company. Vet4U, another wholesale distributor in the Northeast region. Westminster Pharmaceuticals, a generic pharmaceutical manufacturer. And on our observer side, we have American Pharmaceutical Inc., a regional dispenser chain with two very large warehouses. Associated Food Stores, again, dispenser with corporate stores and also associated stores. Helston Therapeutics, a biotech pharmaceutical manufacturer. Kuehne+Nagel, a very large 3PL managing top branded biotech and pharmaceutical manufacturer products as a 3PL service provider. NextGen Pharmaceuticals manufacturer. Proficient RX contract packaging organization. Quality Care Products runs both the wholesale distributor business and also repackaging business. So again, exceptions in multiple business units, and looking forward to work with them and managing their exceptions. South Point Wholesale, large wholesaler with multiple internal systems that just need to really sort out when there is an inbound or outbound issues, who is doing what, right? Two Labs, consulting company that's really taking a lot of small companies to commercialization. They've been doing great work educating small virtual companies who is looking at the commercialization and all this, right? All this that we have been working on for many years. Now these small new startup companies have to grasp it very rapidly and getting to the deadline that we are all going into. Next slide, please. Okay, so why are we doing this, right? So there's a really good reason that why we are doing this. If you look into next year, right? So right now on the market today, I know all the products are serialized. So how many products? So the estimate is $3 billion. 3 billion serialized products are in circulation, in commerce in the US, and that's worth $560 billion, right? So, and I'm just only looking at the exceptions from one small angle, and there are exceptions from a lot of different angles. So if I'm just looking at the exceptions just purely on the EPCS data exchange side, and as we all know, EPCS data exchange is part of the requirement for interoperability. We are racing to 2023. Under 2023 DSCSA milestones, there are actually two requirements. One is interoperability, meaning EPCS data exchange. Two is enhanced supply chain security, meaning matching the product to the data, identify errors and discrepancies. It's the definition of exceptions, right? That's the enhanced supply chain security requirement. And then third, of course, product verification at the package level, right? And I'm not even talking about, you know, the VIS side and the matching side. I'm just talking about the data exchange, the interoperability side. So we are tracking, right? We have real-time data tracking the successful EPCS exchange as well as failed ones. So the error, and this is in production, I'm not talking about test. In test, so when you engage your trading partner, you start with a test environment. You send some test file, you know, the receiver company will then point out like what's not right, right? So in test, the error rate is 80%. But once we had gone through that test, both parties said, oh, we're really good right now. We're ready to go production. So once you are gone production, right, in theory, it should be 100% successful, but that is not true. We are seeing 10% error rate, right? And then we're gonna go into in details of what, why, and all the good stuff about the exceptions. Now this pilot has EPCS data exchange exceptions included, but more, right? Because that's part of the big puzzle. There are definitely more things. If it's just EPCS, it's easy. Well, don't want to say easy, but it's manageable, right? If you have the right tool, if you have the right communication, then this EPCS data exchange can be managed successfully, and that's what LSPedia is known to do, is managing exceptions and facilitate that smooth supply chain transactions without friction. So if we say 10, just take that number, 10%. 10% of 3 billion products is 300 million products. Imagine that 300 million products stalled, right? Not moving forward, stalled. That's a lot of products. And we had just gone through 2 years pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, and we know how critical and also how fragile this supply chain can be, right? And we do not want to go into 2023 and get 300 million products sold. And in value, that's $56 billion, right? Collectively, can you imagine that your company's top line got hit by 10%? You know, that is not a good picture for anyone. So we are racing against time to want to put a solution in front of you so we can collectively discuss putting hands-on exercises and find process and procedures that can handle any exceptions coming your way that's resulted from the interoperability requirement and also enhanced supply chain security requirement, right? And let's talk about how does this, you know, how does this work? Next, please. Okay. So if you are looking for information, we have a landing page for you. You can just access from lspedia.com on the DSCSA menu, right? And there's a exceptions pilot tab. And when you go into this landing page, it has various things you can click through. So for everyone who's here and who's requested to join this pilot, let's go to the next. You're gonna get a welcome letter following this public meeting. So you get this welcome letter describing the key contact from LSPedia, and then there's an action item for you, and there's a distribution list. If you have any issues, you reach out to exceptions team at lspedia.com, and then we can get in touch with you. So this is step number one would be for those who haven't signed up for the pilot, sign up for the pilot. And then step number two is you're going to get a call from us. We do qualify the members before we engage, and then from there a welcome letter. Next, please. Okay, so the next, you're going to get all the details about this pilot. So we have a pilot's guide, and this pilot's guide goes into details about how is this pilot put together, what's the methodology, how do we measure each scenarios and each resolutions of a error scenario, and who does what. So you want to during the pilot, there are just really four things you want to think about, right? Like what is this exception, right? And then who, like when this happens, who is responsible, or who needs to do it, right? Who needs to respond? And then how, like how do I do this? How do I put the solution together, right? And the most important thing is why, like, why does this apply to me? Why do I need to do this? So we're gonna go through all that. So for every single scenario, we're gonna go through that. We have done the FDA pilot 3 years ago. Toward the end of pilot, we learned a lot. The most thing that was resonated with me is these four questions: what, who, especially the who, because we don't really think about who until that happens to us, and all of a sudden we realize we don't have someone, like if I'm a manufacturer, I don't have someone in my company taking the responsibility, right? So this pilot really gives you that experience to start thinking about, if this is the scenario, then who takes the responsibility, and that's super important. So so you'll get this pilot guide, read through the pilot guide. Of course, we're gonna guide you through every step of the way, and we're all gonna be on the same pace. So this is why this pilot is really very, I really like how it's structured, that because we do have different key stakeholders, right? We have manufacturers, dispensers, wholesalers, solution providers, and these are all different parties. They have different businesses. Like, how do we even move this pilot forward? And we'll talk about how do we move it forward. Next, please. Okay, so here is a high level time frame of what's going to happen and and then every under each month, right? So we are at this public meeting, and then we have one more step before the end of the year. And then we're going to go into January and do the kickoff on the 18th, January 18th. And the members will meet once a week. So it's really, we are doing 2-week sprints. So meeting number 1 is going to talk about the scenarios, explaining the scenarios, and then you get 2 weeks to complete your assignment, right? For example, if the scenario is, hey, I received an inbound file from my contract manufacturer, or if I'm a wholesaler, I received an inbound file from manufacturer. If you're a dispenser, I received the inbound file from my primary provider, etc. So we all gonna work on, like, all the participating members gonna work on that problem together, right? So we're gonna work on that problem. We all have inbound scenarios, and we're just all gonna work on that inbound scenario. And so you have 2 weeks to perform this. We're gonna give you the equipment, whether it's a scanner or something else that you need to perform that. And we'll also be providing you barcodes, bottles, to enable you to do the hands-on. So it's going to be very, very real, right? And you probably also want, think about, like, who else in your company you need to bring into this pilot. Certainly, you can do this by yourself, but eventually, think about, like, who is really doing this going forward. And when you have that answer, bring them in. The earlier they get educated, the better, for your role in your company to be able to successfully transition into 2023. So this is our high-level project planning. We're gonna do 2 progress reports it's about 20 weeks period. So we're gonna wrap up phase 1 in February, and we'll have 3 weeks to do a progress report. And then we'll wrap up phase 2 in March, and we'll have another progress report. And then toward the end, we'll have a final report. So everyone who is in this pilot will really contribute significantly from your discovery of how your company resolves issues. Every company, will be given the same task, but you will discover that you might resolve this one a little differently than everybody else. Next, please. So in order for us to do, there's a lot of work in this pilot. I don't want to scare you. You will participate in the 2-week sprint, right? So I talked about week 1. It's a coming to the class. We're going to talk about these exceptions, and then you're going to get a homework assignment. And so the second week we have a workshop, right? So you can utilize this workshop to perform your resolution during the workshop, or you can perform the resolution offline by yourself with your team members. But it's 2-week sprint. So we do anticipate that you will allocate 1 to 2 hours a week to be active participants of this pilot. If you are observer, then you are just coming in for those meeting times. So 1 hour a week. During those meeting times, observe the progress, observe the issues being resolved. So we do have 23 companies in the mix right now, and we are growing that list. And how do we move this? How can we even accomplish this in 20 weeks? So the way that we designed this pilot is that we all going to work on exactly the same issues at the same time. I know even within the members here, right? You could be the trading partner of the next member, and you may want to say, hey, I'm selling to you, and you have this issue, I can help you resolve it. That's not how we're gonna do this pilot. We're gonna do this pilot is everyone work on the same problem. You're gonna work on your inbound problem, right? Even if you are a dispenser, you're gonna work on your inbound problem. right? So on day one, the manufacturer, wholesaler, dispenser, hospitals inbound the problem, right? That we have a long list of inbound issues. So, and then the phase two, we're gonna move to outbound problems. And oftentimes someone's inbound problem is another party's outbound problems. So, and then we're gonna move on to the logistics exceptions, right? So when you are physically touching that product, you have a problem. It's not inbound or outbound. It's, you know, the labels, I can't scan the labels. This product is on recall. You know, there's like other issues that's in the mix. Next, please. Okay, so here are our inbound exception scenarios. And we are during the pilot, you know, we're gonna talk about these. And you may have more that we haven't captured here, but we have spent quite a bit of time going through and research and collect from real day-to-day basis. So we actually just did a quick recap of all the inbound EPCS files that has error, and that number is really, really high. I think for the last 6 months, we had 15,000 files that carry one or more errors, right? So we have collected a lot of information about exceptions, and this is how we're gonna move is when you are receiving product, whether as a manufacturer you're receiving 12 pallets, or a wholesaler you're receiving 1 pallet or 2 cases, or dispenser you just receiving a tote, right? These are all applicable issues when you are doing the inbound receiving. So there are 10 scenarios we're gonna cover for the inbound. I'm not gonna go to each one of them here, but that's precisely what the pilot is for. The pilot is gonna go to each individual error scenarios. Missing or incorrect master data, right? You cannot receive that EPCS data file because you do not know, your system don't have that master data, right? So this happens when there's a new product launch. This also happens when you have a new vendor, and this also happens just because. This is a very, very common scenario. Next, please. Then we're gonna work on outbound, right? So we're gonna work on outbound. Again, someone's inbound issue is someone's outbound issue, right? But we are gonna move in the same pace. So we're gonna work on when outbound issue occurs, what do we do? So it's always what, who, right? How, and then you want to really ask why. Why is this occurring to me? Why does this happen? And that's why having a system is really helpful, because the system can measure, can help you identify whys, right? Next one. Logistics, right? So this is when you pick up a product, right? Whether you want to dispense it, whether you want to ship it, you know, there's a problem. I can't scan the label. There's some issue with the label, whether it's damaged or just this label just not printing right. The colors, the contrast between the black and white is not there. Color faded. There's all sorts of issues that someone cannot scan a label. So we're gonna work on that. You have the product, but the inbound data is not matching to the product. So that's another issue. This product is expired, recalled, illegitimate altogether, right? That's another issue. And grandfathered, like how, if you're looking at, especially for manufacturers, this is not so much an issue, but for anyone that's downstream from manufacturers, this is a huge issue, is how do we transition your current inventory into serialization, right? So for those inventory you bought legit, you have the 3Ts, ASN to prove that this is completely compliant under DSCSA, but they don't have inbound EPCS data, right? They don't have that commissioning events supporting it. They are, I would say, 95 plus inventory in the supply chain today is falling into that category, right? So we do have 1 year, a little less than 1 year to churn the inventory, but again, like November 2023, you will have, I mean, I would speak, I think it's going to be true to majority of the companies out there, you will have inventory that needs that transition. Like, how do you deal with this? How do you even know it's grandfathered, right? So that's a scenario that we're gonna put our heads together through the pilot, and then we're gonna, toward the end, we're gonna get the procedures you need to support your business and the knowledge you need to implement that procedure. Next. Okay, so I have some input from the members. So why do you want to join this pilot? And this is some of the reasons that our members are telling us. So Spartan actually said having a list of the most likely occurrences and tested practices to resolve them, to add to our SOPs, right? Again, the nice thing about the SOP is it tells you the what and who and how, right? So that's, I think that's a common thing that we are hearing from our customers and pilot members, that, you know, this doesn't exist right now, right? If you go back to your SOP right now, like there's nothing that says, I don't have master data, you know, what do I do now? I cannot receive this shipment, what do I do now? So that's precisely what this pilot's for. From associated food stores become familiar with error scenarios as well as methods to resolve them. Well said, right? You know, you definitely don't want to be surprised by any error scenarios. You definitely want to know, just as a company, you just need to have a menu. Like, this could happen, no problem. We have a procedure when this happens. Next. Okay, Kuhn and Nagel, a very large 3PL company, learning in more details about pilot's stated objectives. So the pilot is here to resolve exceptions and create that exceptions management manual to you toward the end. Westminster Pharmaceuticals to get an understanding of the process for identifying and processing a suspected exception. This process would be a cradle-to-grave walkthrough example of the process. More focus is on the process than the scenario. And I completely agree. You know, you guys need a process. You need to know what, and then you need to have a process of how, right? Like how to manage this. Next. Dracula Betances will let us know about process and knowledge as a serialization analyst. Also, this is from a analyst, absolutely. So as a member of your team, right, what is your knowledge about exceptions, and do you have a process to manage them? From Cardinal Health, we are all worried about exception handling as we get closer to November 2023. Hope is to learn how to handle exceptions effectively and with no minimum impact to our business. You know, well said. We don't want any impact. I think the work that you are doing today by joining this public meeting is really itself is admirable, because you are thinking about things that's not happening now, right? But you are anticipating this can be a risk factor for your company, and very much so. If nothing is done, it will become a factor, and that will negatively impact your company. And so being able to think ahead and take that step ahead of that risk is absolutely you know, very courageous in our opinion. ICS providing email is not going to work, right? Just sending out an email. We know, you know, you look at your email, how many emails do you get a day? Has email ever resolved anything, right? So providing email is not going to work. We need interoperable system in place. Yeah, absolutely. The ability to messaging and then providing real-time business data to resolve the errors and discrepancies, right? So it, you know, overship and undership happens every day. You know, that's just part of supply chain. And I think serialization will definitely help driving down those occurrences, but they will happen. And then the question to ask is, do you know how to manage it, right? Does the email solve the problem? If you email out, hey, you shorted me one, then where does that lead you? You still have, products sitting there. You still have a discrepancy. So that's what this pilot is for. We're going to talk about all those scenarios and really work on the right way, right method, right system, right interoperability to resolve it. Next, please. Okay, so I just have a few more, but I think we are consistently seeing the SOP process knowledge, right? So it's very common, and if your company is worried about this as well, right? I think you should, and every company need to take that step ahead and have a plan. And joining this pilot can help you getting the SOPs and knowing the what's and who's and how's, and then really get to the whys, right? Toward the end is, why is this error happening the first time? Why is this repeating? Or what are we not doing to prevent it from repeating? So that's what this is about, and we are super excited to have a diversity of the participants. So we really want to cover every aspect of supply chain. Next, please. Oh, okay, here we go. So there's a link here, and Patrick is going to distribute this deck to you, so you have things you can click on. So like I said earlier, step number one, just click that link to become either a participant or an observer. There's a qualification process, so you will be getting a phone call from someone in my team, and to just make sure that you are committed to work with us. It is going to be a 20-week. We're going to spend a lot of time together, so we just want to make sure that you get the value out of the time you're going to spend with us. And then landing page to get more information. You can always reach out to us. And then there's a pilot specific distribution list called exceptions team at LSPedia.com. You can always reach out to that distribution list, and someone will get to you and work with you for you to take the next steps. Okay, that really just wraps up this public meeting. If you have any questions, enter it in the sidebar under questions. Okay, so I think we are good here. A lot of you guys know me personally, so just send me an email directly. I'd be happy to respond. And also, you can reach out to DSCSA at LSPedia.com. So thank you so much for participating, and happy holidays. This is our last public presentation, so wish you a happy and a healthy holiday season. Thank you for joining us today.